So I'm on my way right now to Pig Barber to get my hair cut. It's getting kind of gross. I've got a couple speaking events in the next week or so. Tonight is an AIGA panel about being in-house design versus agency. And then next week I'm going to be in Atlanta for the How Design Live conference. I'm really excited for that. Giving my talk on Thursday, I believe, which is Your Bias is Bullshit. So excited to give that talk, but figured I'd get my hair cleaned up, making sure I look good for everyone. That's about it.
Mental.
Seems like a cluster of people.
It's so many people and doing more.
Yeah. Is it worth it though?
What kind of God?
So a good friend of mine, Marc Hemeon, has started a company called Design Inc. here in Costa Mesa. Also, a good friend, Charlie Waite, is working there from GoPro. I'm getting a little anxious being at home all day long and not doing any design, so I figured I'd stop in, check out their new office, and see how they're doing, just to kind of pretend like I'm working again. If you are a designer that freelances a lot or just interested in what Marc is doing, I highly recommend you check it out. He's working on some cool things. I don't think there's much on the web today, but you should hit him up on Twitter. They've got a lot of cool stuff to share. We are heading out to Sacramento, a road trip. It's about 5 o'clock in the morning. Woke up about an hour ago. Me and my wife are doing this for a friend's wedding, and we've got a 4-day-old baby. So hopefully this works out.
'Cause I still want to live in a world full of grace. But who gets acquitted when all men are felons and victims the same? I just can't say
So we're making good time, about an hour outside of Sacramento. Me and Erica have been sharing the driving load. And I'm at this weird angle because my wife, Erica, is breastfeeding Asher. He's been a trooper, only woke up twice. Made good time, left at like 5:30. It is now 1:15. But first, priorities.
Sometimes the truth.
Okay, just to set context, why I'm in an open field with a stroller. I'm in Northern California, Sacramento, about a half an hour south of there, in a place called Galt, California, I believe. Good friends of ours are getting married. My wife is doing hair and makeup, and so I'm on baby duty while she works. If you guys don't know, my wife Erica has a pretty awesome business called 1011 Makeup. It's kind of a big deal. If you are into that, check her out. Long story short, I have some time to vlog. We had a long 8-hour drive on the way up here, and a lot of thoughts are going through my head based on some things that I was listening to, and so I wanted to talk about that today. So I've made a couple videos that compare like a lot of different parts of kind of where my head is at a lot of times. I think I'm a little crazy for it, but I'm always finding like parallels between my work and design and kind of the thought that goes into being a creative, and then contrasting that with culture, like just what's happening in the world around us, whether it be politics and whatnot, social stuff, and then also like religion and faith and kind of my background being a pastor's kid and some of the faith that I carry today. And so there was this underlying theme that I was thinking about while I was driving around uncertainty and like the gray area in between. So I wanted to dig into that idea of like the middle ground and grayness and uncertainty, because there's a lot of different pieces, podcasts, pieces of music and conversations that I've been in the last week that really have been making me think about this a little bit. So I wanted to dig in that way for this week's vlog. So first off, the song in this episode is by a band called My Epic on Face Down Records. Really awesome band. You should check them out if you're into that genre of music. And it kind of sounds like a message of just like struggling with faith, struggling with uncertainty, and trying to talk that out. And I think that is something that is often discouraged in most faiths, honestly, to have uncertainty or to question. And it's been kind of a place that I've sat a lot. Being a pastor's kid, I grew up in the church, and I've mentioned this in other vlogs. I still have very much a devout faith and personal beliefs, but I feel like oftentimes, especially now, like when you consider like politics and the temperature of where things are at today, it's frowned upon, or people say we don't talk about those things. I feel like it's easy for people to say we shouldn't talk about those things because we're going to disagree and get in arguments. And I think that's a very toxic way to think. I think we should encourage conversations where we disagree, if we can do them responsibly and be in a place where we can agree to disagree or discuss with open minds. I think that's something that's done really well at Google, where people can come from different perspectives, different walks of life, and kind of work in one space where they can all have a little bit of grace and understanding and freedom to be, transparent and honest, but without, the risk of argument or dissension. The second was a podcast on the Bad Christian Podcast, which I've mentioned before. I use a lot of the music that is on their label as well. They had on an author and speaker, Peter Enns, and he wrote this book called The Sin of Certainty. So I haven't bought the book and read it yet, but just given on the podcast, it resonated in that same tone. There's this, especially even in the church, there's this prescriptive way of thinking of I'm Catholic, Protestant, evangelical, and there's these pillars of understanding in these groups that people almost subscribe to. And if you're like an atheist or don't believe in faith, I'll bring this around to design in a second. But I feel like there's a lot of people in between, and I feel like if there's danger in having these like pre-understood categories, because I feel like a lot of times people don't fit in those buckets. And so I myself am struggling with the idea of fighting those labels or fighting those groups, whether it be faith, politics, or design, and being open to change, open to understanding different sides, and really challenging myself to grow and feel free to change my perspective or what I've thought in the past. The third piece of content was Design Details. This is a couple episodes back, but they interviewed this designer, Yaron. But they were talking about perspectives in design and like being surprised by new trends and different things. And Yaron, the guest, was really just saying like, look, like my perspective changes a lot now, and he was saying how he's less quick to like put a stake in the ground and say this is my opinion and this is what's right or wrong, and was kind of admitting to a more fluid way of thinking in design. And I feel like it's easy to have a strong perspective and write a blog or give a talk that is so strong in opinion, and I'm very guilty of this. Like almost all my titles of talks that I've done, whether it's Pixel Pretty Damn Perfect or Your Bias is Bullshit, all these different things I've given, they'll obviously have kind of a shock jock, like very strong perspective. But I feel like we should be giving each other and community, whether it's regardless of what type of community or organization I'm talking about, we should have freedom to grow and understand and change. And I feel like anytime something becomes an organization, be it a startup, a company, a church, a religious organization, you create an organization, and then the people in that organization are held to those rules and to those principles. I understand those exist for a reason, but I also think that they can stifle the maturity and evolution of the way people are thinking, because we do learn and we do grow, and I think we need to be aware of that and allow for that. So this whole thought process that I've kind of gone down the past couple days was primed with a conversation that I had with my brother-in-law, Bobby Marchessault. And Bobby's very open-minded, constantly challenging the way he's thinking. And so we're talking about politics and how obviously there's a lot of, like, it's a freaking circus right now. But we got on the topic of how easy it is for people to subscribe to either a conservative or a liberal way of thinking, and how there are obviously a lot of people in the center of that. And also that, like, no one has a transparent conversation about it, that people resist from having those conversations about politics, and me included. Like, I rarely talk about my perspectives openly. I guess as I had that conversation about politics with Bobby, and then listened to this song 100 times in my 8-hour drive, and then to listen to those couple podcasts, it was all kind of overlapping for me, that whether it's religion, politics, or, you know, the way you design or create, or whatever your profession is, it's always easy to get stuck in a way of thinking and to say, this is who I am, this is what I think, and here's how I go about this. And I don't think it's that simple. I don't think it's that clean. I think we need to be open to challenging those thoughts. I think it's also easy for us to surround ourselves with people we know. I mentioned earlier in the vlog that I was speaking at an AIGA panel, and I wasn't able to record it. I'll probably post it later on my YouTube. They recorded the whole thing, and Boeing was really weird about, like, cameras and privacy, so I wasn't able to record. But the topic came up of diversity and working in Orange County versus the Bay Area. And I was saying, like, look, like, I live in Orange County because of my family. I think the culture's a little more dumb. And I don't say that to be, like, shitting on Orange County. It's just that it's less diverse. It's a lot more isolated and safe. And I miss that about the Bay Area. There's a lot of people from all over the world that live there because of the industry. And I think that that's important to grow as individuals, regardless of the subject matter. So I'm on a journey of challenging myself to not be so prescriptive in the way I think, and these, like, defined categories, whether it is my faith or the way I work, my perspectives on design, or politics for that matter. So I'm challenging myself to do that, and I encourage you guys to do the same. And never fear questioning the way you think. We should be comfortable with being uncertain, or saying I don't know, or maybe. I think that there's an expectation that we have to know exactly what we're saying or have our mind made up. I think it's better to be in a place of uncertainty and being honest with ourselves, rather than being prescriptive and certain but not really being free to think and question. So I'm not sure what that is. I've been really thinking about it a lot, so hopefully you guys are thinking about it as well. And be sure to check out the links below and listen and watch some of the content there. I think it's really good. And thank you to my Epic for creating great music. Say bye. Say, don't forget to subscribe. Subscribe. All right, let's go.